Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
It is I, Werner Herzog. I am here to welcome you to the podcast for today. Believe me when I tell you that this is one of my favorite subjects of all time. It is called authenticity and...
Wait a minute. Did you ever notice how Werner Herzog sounds dangerously close to another person that we know? Here, I'll see what happens if we give Werner a shot of espresso. Here you go, Werner. Drink up.
All right, give it to me. I will try my best. It is I, Arnold, taking a break from the fires in California to be here with you all. Unfortunately, there's still much work to be done on the front lines, so I must say to you, in all honesty, to the chopper.
And there he goes. See you later, Arnold. Thanks for all your hard work. And I hate to say it, but I told you so.
Wah, wah. Sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, you know, what better way to start off a podcast episode about authenticity than doing two bad impressions of Werner Herzog and Arnold Schwarzenegger morphing into each other. But, you know, we got to have some fun, got to lighten things up a little bit. Yes, we are still on the tail end of the fires here. A lot of progress is being made, and, you know, it's getting under control, and a lot of the devastation has finally kind of stopped, although the aftermath of that is going to continue. But I just want to thank everybody again for all your hard work on the fires. Thanks for everything you're doing out there. And we are going to move forward into this episode, which is going to be about, yes, authenticity. So why authenticity? Well, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you why.
Because there happens to be a lot of fakeness out there, a lot of posing, inauthentic work out there in all realms. You know, I was brought up in Generation X, and yeah, I was a cusper. I guess you could argue I was close to millennial, but I was a Generation Xer, and things that were very important to us, aside from like, fuck everything, man, was really that we wanted to be authentic, and selling out was a huge thing. Selling out was a no-no. And we took that a little bit too far, to an extreme. I think it was like if a band grew an audience and branched out into like a different audience than what they started off with, they were selling out. I don't think that's true. I think any artist should be able to expand their audience and reach more and more people. I think that's just the natural progression of being good at what you do. But selling out kind of took a turn. And I think it started to take a turn a little bit with obviously reality television and social media, but also with some types of rap. Now, I love rap. I grew up listening to like gangster rap when I was a kid. I was like 10 years old listening to NWA, and there was a lot of really authentic, amazing rap out there. But there was also a lot of like sampling, and a lot of the stuff they talk about in rap is just kind of achieving fame or success or monetary gain, no matter what. There was a referencing pop culture all the time, and I think that was all great. I think it was very new at the time. But I think also that plus reality TV plus social media and people getting out there and wanting to be famous, getting their 15 minutes of fame, I think it's just become on steroids now. And now there's so much inauthenticity out there. It's crazy. I mean, we're going to talk about some examples of both, but one thing that I just want to underscore, we've talked about this before, but you know, I think it's important to talk about again, and that is there's a difference between being inspired by and completely stealing or copying. Now, there are some samples I think that enhance in rap. And then there's some samples that are like, would we like that song without that sample? I'm not sure, but it's debatable. But there's a lot of great rappers out there who use the samples tastefully, and then their rap is just so, authentic that it sells the song and, the album in general that way. But, a lot of people nowadays are just copying work. Or, there's another way that you can be inauthentic, and that's in your promotion of your work and how you get out there and how you get publicity. This never really used to happen, or at least it happened under the radar. We didn't really know about it a lot. But now there's a lot of magazines and, other organizations out there that you can kind of buy your way in. Like you just pay for a spot in the magazine, or you pay for, a spot in the newspaper, or you pay for a spot online, or whatever it is. And you get your blurb in the magazine, or you get featured along some other artists in a magazine. And then that's fine. If that's what you're going to do, if you want to just increase your ability to get eyeballs on your work, I think that's admirable and it's wonderful. But I think a lot of people will turn around then and say, look, I was featured in so-and-so magazine, insert like really well-known magazine here. And people will be like, oh my God, that's great. How did you get in? And then you do a little digging and you realize that you paid to get in there. Now, that's all about how you use it. You can market yourself. You can use money as a tool to get yourself out there and to, like I said, reach more people. If you're going to pay for a spot that's going to reach like 5 new collectors, and those collectors are going to end up buying your work, it was a necessary means to an end. And I think it was successful. But if you're going to use it as a thing where it's like somebody just discovered you and put you on there on your own merit or your own worth, I think that is inauthentic. So I think we just need to be a little bit more clear on how and why we do certain things and what is authentic and what is inauthentic. Because I think people can really smell that, and I think they can sense it, and I think it gets in the way of you becoming, a well-known artist down the road or being somebody who's respectable. Because a lot of times you'll hear later on, oh, this person bought their way into this, and that's just not quite as admirable. There's a lot of talk about being famous, being successful, being a legend. I think the true legends are the people who did it their own way and who were like genre redefining, or at least just had some sort of authentic voice that they kept doing. They kept changing with time. They kept altering with, their own curiosity, and just became somebody in different decades who just continued to expand and do unique individual work. I think that is authenticity. And I think that's what stands the test of time with people later, is like, oh, does this still resonate? And I think if you're just faking it, or if you're just writing somebody else's coattails, or you're just copying, I think that will be sussed out later on, and that will keep you from standing the test of time. And I think we really need to be vigilant nowadays and be patient, because when it comes to this type of stuff, it is the long game as far as authenticity is concerned. I think as far as success is concerned too, long-term success, it is about a marathon and not a sprint. And I think it's the same thing here. Like you see things on social media, or you'll see stuff on YouTube or on like reality shows. Like you hear things about people, oh, kids are very eyeball catching. Kids will get me more subscribers and more eyeballs on my YouTube channel. So you've heard people like adopting kids from different countries and using them just to increase their social media followers. I think that is so ridiculous and cringeworthy and kind of like immoral if you think about it. And, that's just how far people will go nowadays to get, followers or to get subscribers or have their 15 minutes of fame. And then you kind of have to just keep that going and almost live a fake life. And I think you see that nowadays. I think some people kind of, the line gets blurred between reality and their social media or their YouTube channel or whatever. It's like, oh, I got to keep this up. I got to do the next thing that catches eyeballs. So they just keep shifting and shifting onto new trends. And, that happens in the art world too. Like, what is the most popular art form right now? Or what's the color of the year? Or what, like I see stuff all the time that I don't like where, somebody will paint somebody who just died. And it's okay if it's one thing. Like I have paintings of like Shane McGowan that I did way before he died. I know David Lynch, rest in peace. I had a painting that I did of his, actually 2 paintings I did of his. One, I actually worked with the David Lynch Foundation and got to auction off a piece I did of David Lynch on stage with David Lynch. But I did all those way before he passed. And, but you see people who will do stuff like that where it's like, oh, this person passed away, and they have it ready to go. And then they start promoting it online the moment this person passed away. Or you see it on like HBO even, or streaming services. They'll have a collection ready to go of somebody when they pass. I know Aubrey Plaza's husband just took his own life, and it was this crazy thing in the media, but you start to see Aubrey Plaza, movies popping up all over the place. And I think that's really inauthentic. I think that's just capitalizing on whatever's happening in the zeitgeist or in the social media world or whatever. It's whatever's happening in pop culture. Oh, we need to get that out there no matter what the cost. And we kind of lose something in the process. I think we lose a little bit of our own morality and especially our own authenticity. So I think we need to be aware of all those things. It's one thing to be really inspired by somebody and to do a tribute to them afterwards, or like, let's say you have a painting. I mean, I know I did a tribute podcast to Shane McGowan when he died. It wasn't to sell the podcast. It was because I was really sad and I was really inspired by him my entire career. And I'd done 2 or 3 paintings of Shane McGowan in the past. And I just wanted to use it as a way to kind of honor him and to spark some creative thought. So I think that's one way of doing it authentically. I think that there's a lot of stuff that is just predatory or capitalizing on a moment. And I think that is really kind of dark when you think about it. I think some people will go to any lengths they can to achieve eyeballs or just to get that quick sale or something. And I think the quick sale is not nearly as important as establishing a reputation of consistency and selling consistently on the right kind of, authentic and moral grounds. Like, this is what I do. I'm just going to be putting out work. I'm going to be putting out my ideas. My ideas are going to be shifting with my inspiration and with my curiosity. And I'm just going to keep putting out work. And sometimes you will be doing stuff that kind of captures the zeitgeist, and that can be, a byproduct of you just being curious and doing stuff well. Then there's other times where you're just following trends. Trend. What am I doing? I gotta buy this because this is trendy. Oh, I gotta paint this because this is trendy. Oh, I gotta, do this on YouTube. I gotta turn my podcast into a video podcast now on YouTube. Now, I may or may not do that in the future. I have not done it right now. I fought that because it hasn't felt authentic to me at this point. When I do, or if I do, which I may not ever do, I guarantee you it'll be coming from an authentic place. It'll be coming from a place where I have decided based on, okay, I've fought and I've beat this disease. I have more energy. I have more vitality. I have the want to pursue this in an artistic way, to do something that other people haven't done yet. That's the only reason I would do a video podcast on YouTube. Right now, I just release the audio version because I think that's fine, because I'm trying to get content out there that's easily digestible, that's, unencumbered by me trying to just be like slick or like, hey, look at this polished video that I'm trying to sell to grow my channel. So TBD on that, everybody. But let's get back to general authenticity. Yeah, so what are some other areas of authenticity that we see a lot in our society? Well, there's this whole augmentation of your own physicality as well that we see all the time, right? Got to stay current, got to stay young, got to keep it fresh and tight. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, so we want to, we see a lot of people who are having work done on their bodies or their faces. And I know there is a lot of pressure to do that, especially for certain types of people working in the entertainment industry. But I will say it does smack of looking inauthentic. Like, you'll see somebody young doing something and it automatically makes them look kind of like somebody else who's a bit older. It kind of augments them in a weird way that makes them look like obviously inauthentic. I see that on movies all the time where I see somebody and I'm like, oh, they looked great. What are they doing? Why did they do that? And it takes me out of the movie. Now, there's a difference between that and going, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to do some things that augment my body's ability to be healthy and younger, like mitochondrial function and stuff like that, doing red light therapy, doing cold plunges, doing saunas and hot cold therapy and, things like that. That's not augmenting you to look fake. That's just working with your body to make it function better and make your cells function better. And it helps you ward off disease. I'm all for that. That is the difference between being authentic and being inauthentic, I think, when it comes to health and wellness and our own appearances. What's another example? Well, I'll finish with a general example of social media, which I haven't been on in like 5 months because of what I'm fighting. But, I still know social media very well. And I see trends. I see people doing things. I see artists falling into traps of like, oh, what's the new hip way to present my artwork? And you'll see these videos or these reels coming out of people doing the exact same format over and over and over again. And then it just makes everybody kind of look homogenous. It doesn't make you stand out. I'm not saying you should try to stand out just to stand out, but you should try to be authentic and sell your work in a way that makes you look unique. And I think when you fall into these patterns of this person showed this person, oh, I'm seeing like 8 people that I follow presenting themselves a certain way on a reel, then I have to do that. And I think it just does. It takes away the authenticity of it. It makes you look more, I don't know, flavor of the week, flavor of the month, like a product that everybody else is selling. That's why I always try to do unique reels and things like that, where I was cutting something a certain way. I used AI tools sometimes to augment certain things in a way that I didn't see other people doing it. I'm saying use the tools that are out there, but use it in a way that speaks to you, that is creative, that kind of fulfills that creative aspect of you. And that's what I think I'm going to close with is how do we tell the difference between being authentic and being inauthentic? And I think there's a really simple gauge to use when thinking about this. And you know what? I mean, you can argue about it. We can debate as much as possible. But what it comes down to, are you doing this for yourself or are you doing it for other people? Are you doing it for something that's coming out of you, for the inside of you, something that's speaking to yourself, that's for yourself? Or are you doing this for some sort of outward extrinsic source? I mean, I think this is a pretty basic concept, but I do think it's harder nowadays. I think it's harder for the younger artists too, because they grew up with social media. They grew up with reality television. Their perception of all this is kind of skewed. It's like fame at any cost, eyeballs at any cost. And I think we need a little reminder. So I think this is good for people. Like, all great artists that I've ever followed or been inspired by throughout, all time, they always talk about not playing to the gallery. They always talk about doing something for your own self, doing something to fulfill some sort of creative need within yourself. And the beauty of that is that when you do that and when you fulfill that completely, it ends up becoming a universal concept that other people can recognize because they go, this was so authentic and so unique to this person's experience. It becomes a universal concept or experience for humanity. So that's the best way to do it. I think all these things have a healthy byproduct of being digestible by the masses or by more people, maybe not right away, but eventually because of the authenticity. And conversely, I think the things that are done just to be absorbed readily by other eyeballs or by the gallery, for example, or by the masses, those things might hit quickly. Or not at all, obviously, but if they do hit quickly, they're going to fade quickly. They're going to be that flavor of the month. They're not going to stand the test of time. So I think just being authentic to yourself, just ask yourself, if you're struggling with this, am I doing this for myself? Am I doing this to fulfill my own creative urge and desire? Is this like fulfilling some sort of fire that I have burning in my belly that I need to get this out there for myself to feel better, almost as like a working through process or as a way of exercising some sort of demon within you that you want to get out there? Does this fulfill that? Does your art fulfill almost like therapy? If it does, then you're probably doing it for the right reason. You're doing it as a self-expression. And then if the masses do, digest it and get it, then great. If they don't yet, they might down the road. And if they don't yet, maybe you just need to keep doing it until people get it. But you can always rest assured that you are at least being authentic, and we can fall back on that. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of just seeing the shock value. I'm going to do this to get eyeballs, and I'm going to do this because this is what's trendy or this is what people are doing. It just feels fake. You always see all these people screaming on social media, "Oh, I'm going to tell you this one thing. If you're doing this, stop right now." That kind of bullshit. I'm tired of it. I'm sure you all are too. And if you're not, I'm sure eventually you will be. So I think this is just something that we all need to be thinking about. And hopefully this podcast has functioned as a way of bringing this to your attention. So you will take this home or stay at home and ponder this a bit more. Are you being authentic with your work? And if you're not, well, how can you be more authentic? And if you are, great. Good on you. Keep doing it. I think it will serve you well going forward. So, sometimes we just need to double down on it. Some of the best people were being super authentic and it didn't really, people didn't get it right away, but eventually people get it. And eventually those people are the ones who become the quote unquote legends that we all, admire. So that's it, everybody. Hope you liked the podcast. I think this one went a little bit long, so we're going to stop at that. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's staying safe. Be good to yourselves. Be good to everybody else out there. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, I think authenticity is important. That's one thing at least I don't have to worry about.
Mumford!
Wait, what now?
It is I, Arnold. I'm coming back from fighting the fires in California to authentically kick your ass.
Uh-oh. Well, better get out of here. So long, suckers!
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.